Hello, and welcome to MrDudeManSir. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be saying my opinion on Hearthstone and the changes that should be made currently are actually being implemented, which is great, and the current expansion, what I think it should bring and allow to happen. I know this is a very niche video, and probably a lot of my viewers don't watch this, but, you know, for those people that do, and I have my opinions on this game, because I've played at least 2 years straight of this game. This is like my favorite game ever. I'm gonna put my opinion out there. So, to begin, I figured I should bring up the 3 or 4 type of decks, generally the 3, and the 4th one is sort of just there. I don't think Blizzard really wanted it to be there, but they're probably just, they want it to happen now. So basically, there are aggro decks, mid-range, control, and combo decks. The 4th one, the combo decks, I don't particularly think Blizzard likes very much, as long as they're balanced. Which I'll get to one that is not balanced and one that is balanced. The balance of these 4 types of decks are key to Hearthstone. If one of them is unbalanced, such as aggro and combo currently, and aggro and combo sometimes go hand in hand, because after the combo goes south, you go aggro, or whenever the aggro goes south, you just rely on a combo. And that's also another thing I'm going to get to. So, currently, aggro is obviously just ruling the game right now. It's mostly Secret Paladin, aggro Druid, and Patron are the top 3 decks. Generally, there are some Fatigue Priests, so if you're going up against an opponent with a good draw and you have a bad draw, you're gonna get completely destroyed. That's just the end of it. So currently, control decks are at the bad of it. And the only time control decks actually work is they don't even run big minions anymore. They only have to basically fatigue the opponent. And I'm gonna go over what I think each subclass, aggro, mid-range, control, and combo should be played and how they should be interacted with in the game. And obviously each aggro and whatever deck should be different depending on the class you're playing it or the style you want to play. Though generally this is how it goes. Aggro decks have an insane early game advantage. They just put as many minions as possible onto the board, and they hit you in the face. They play charge minions, and they try to rely on hopefully having enough damage. Hunters generally used to be the only aggro class. Well, one of the few aggro classes. There used to be like Divine Favor, Paladin, and like some form of like Token Druid, though it wasn't really that good back then. But generally it was Hunter. Back about a year ago it was Hunter. And there was aggro. You just basically relied on this hero power to hit as many times as possible, to deal as much damage, and kill them as fast as possible. And hopefully not run out of cards in the process. By the time you kill them, should be the time you run out of cards. In an aggro deck. That's generally how it's supposed to be. But currently, what aggro decks are, is they are stuff that has perfect draws every single turn. And Secret Paladin is somewhat mid-range, but I'm going to consider aggro. For the sake of the fact that it just goes face and plans to kill you as soon as it runs out of cards, or somewhat like that. It basically has insane early game advantage, like I just said, but the thing is that doesn't make it really fit the aggro that should be aggro, is that it doesn't lose after it runs out of cards. Whenever it runs out of cards, the top decks you can get is insane to bring it back into the game. You can top deck like a Draw, or like a Tyrion, or Dr. Boom, and like that mysterious challenger just to end the game right now. It's not very, balanced currently. And, I'll get to why that's unbalanced, whenever I get to control decks, because you'll realize why control decks have it so bad. And I think control decks are a really fun way to play the game, that making, ladder not very fun anymore, because you can't play control decks very well. Mid-range decks are sort of, in between control and aggro. They don't plan to end the game as soon as they run out of cards. They don't plan to play the cards very much. They plan to sort of just play a 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. That's why I also think that mid-range Paladin, or like, not mid-range, but like aggro Paladin, which is secrets, can also be considered a mid-range deck. Even though I don't consider it that way, because it just plays really good drops on every turn. The Shielded Mini-Bot into like Muster for Battle and the Shredder and stuff like that. It's just insane. They're generally really good value, but the thing is that they don't have insane value. They have tempo at their hand. Mid-range decks are usually like, okay, I'll play these good minions, sort of just grind out my opponent until I get to the point to where I can start hitting him in the face, maybe just get a little bit more value than usual, and then I'll try to hit him in the face and end the game around turn 15 or so, before it gets into fatigue, but not. They generally don't run out of cards, and if they do, it's somewhere around turn 10 or so. And their mana they don't play very many big minions. If they do, they play like one, like such as Dr. Boom, and maybe one on top of that. A good deck that actually used to be played before the Secret Paladin came around is Mid-Range Paladin. They would play Muster for Battle, but not because of the fact that it's completely broken, but the combo with Quartermaster on turn 5, which is a great try to push for lethal type thing. They play Tyrion, but everyone plays that. They generally play Shredder, but that tops out of that, and they don't really have anything that is overly insane, and you can clear it with like a board clear, just wipe off all the 1/1s or 3/3s from Quartermaster, and everything's all good. But they have their weaknesses, generally mid-range, since they only have like those really good 1, 2, 3, 4s, they don't generally have defensive tools. They try to end the game really fast, and so they don't play. Well, they play some taunts, like such as Sludge Belcher, which is actually going away soon. But they play that, but they don't play very many heals if they do, because they just want as much tempo as possible to try to kill their opponent. And aggro decks are generally good against mid-range, because, you know, they just play faster minions. They're like, okay, I see that you're playing these slower, good value minions, and I'm not going to be able to beat you in the value game, but I raise you a face, and I'm going to kill you. That's how they work. And so aggro kills mid-range. And now we get to control. Control decks, generally how they work is, I'll take Mage for example, because you're watching me play Reno Mage. My deck is sort of one of the few control decks I've actually seen that beats generally a lot of things. Mostly because we can play it different ways. This control decks generally, you know, fend themselves off with spells. As you see, if I probably didn't play very many good 2-drops, 3-drops. I don't even think I have very many 3-drops in my deck, other than secrets. I have some good 4-drops, such as Water Elemental and like Elise, which is sort of really good for the fatigue game, which control decks really go down to fatigue sometimes, especially against another like control deck. They try to just basically efficiently remove them, like the opponents, with AoEs, and then as soon as their opponent is vulnerable and they get to a high mana count is when they start winning. There's Reno Jackson, of course, but that's just a card to counter the aggro, because control should be beating aggro. At least they used to. And they just play big minions. But the problem with big minions is that they die. They either are too slow, or you just get BGH'd, or you get silenced, or you just get rushed down, or comboed. Basically, about the time that you get these big minions off, your opponent has a way to remove them. Which is why control decks don't work very well. Because it turns out that just trying to remove your opponent's minions with spells in order to get to the late game doesn't work out very well when you don't have much of a late game. Because they can just remove it with 3 mana. So the cycle of, like, who wins what? Aggro beats mid-range, control beats aggro, and mid-range generally beats control. That's sort of the thing. And just mid-range out-tempos the control deck with because you can't spell remove the stuff. And also another reason that control decks just don't work very well is because generally what's supposed to happen is by the time they get to the high mana costs, they're supposed to have a full hand, and their opponent is supposed to either have low on cards, much lower than them, or be an aggro deck and be out of cards. And what's happening now, such as Shredder, is it takes 2 cards of the spell removal to actually get rid of. Which is why it's bad. Because Shredder is a 4-drop that you have to kill it twice with spells. So you, like, Forgotten Torch it. Then you have to, like, Frostbolt it. Or you have to just wait for it to get killed by AoE. Like a Flame Strike. Or freeze it and then ping it. Or something. It's just not very good. Muster for Battle, like, Shielded Minibot is a 2-drop you have to kill twice. Like, you can't just Frostbolt it. You have to ping it and then Frostbolt it, and then on that time, he can play another minion. and then he shredders, and then you have to just hopefully play like a water elemental and just ink back the value, and then hope to get to those end turns and win the game with Reno Jackson duplicating it multiple times or something. But with all those cards going away, I can see Blizzard realizes their problem and that they're changing that, which is great. I'm waiting to play some good old control decks again. Control Warrior, Control Mage, Control like Priest again, man. And not Fatigue Priest, like actual control. And now we get the combo decks. They're not really fitting into the triangle of wins, like the what beats what. I didn't really know where to fit them. So basically, the three main combo decks are Patron Warrior, which is insane right now, though can be very easily comboed, very easily beaten by Priest, and most of the time by my Mage, because of if you have 2 AoEs, you just ruin their combo, and they're done for. So that's sort of a little bit bad on the development / building style, because it just loses. You cannot win if your opponent has 2 AoEs, which I don't think should be able to happen. But, you know, I mean, I guess it's just insanely aggressive, and it's really good against Paladin, which is why it's played right now. I don't think it would actually be played in a control game. Like, if you are playing control, you have the removal for Patron, and so Patron would not be played anymore, is what I'm thinking. Combo Rogue is a thing that's actually been appearing right now, recently. It's sort of like a Miracle Rogue, but instead of Leroy, you just run a buttload of spells. You run like Cold Blood, you run... Well, I don't think you run Oil. You just run like attrition game. You just attrition them until you get to like turn 6, 7, 8, and then you play gadgets and draw your deck, and then conceal. You get coins, the like combo from like the Tomb Pillagers, and you conceal it. That's right there is possibly like 4 to 9 damage on the board, depending on how much minions you had on the board there. And that's guaranteed like 9 damage. You hit him in the face. And when it comes back to you, if he's not able to kill those minions in stealth, such with an AoE, is when you just start buffing the minions and drawing your entire deck. It actually is pretty interactive, because you have to know when to go full on, and if you need the... Against like an aggressive deck, you're probably just gonna like, you know, go for it anyways regardless, and that's why I don't think combo decks work against aggressive decks very well. They just outkill you. By the time you get your combo together, you're just dead. But against maybe these control decks, this deck would be pretty viable. It's just that you are limited on the amount of damage you can do. After you get your combo off, if you don't draw your second conceal, or if your board is cleared somehow, you lose. And that's also just... It's a recurring theme with combo decks. You just lose if they have the right card at the right time. And if combo decks ever become super popular, they'll just lose. You'll get comboed. I mean, you will play cards to counter the combo decks if they are popular. Like, if rogues are playing only combo, then you will put in such like a BGH, or you'll like for the after you buffs a minion, or you will run 2 flame strikes or something. Brawl, you run 2 brawls, 2 no more light bombs, but maybe like holy novas or something, in this hope that I don't know. You'll get the idea. You'll try to counter it somehow, and there probably will be counters. Maybe you'll run flare as a hunter. Not that you'll actually be clearing minions. You just go face. Though there is a really bad deck. It's good, but I don't think it should be good. It's Freeze Mage. Like, sure, it's a good deck. People play a lot in you know, tournaments, because it's sort of an ageist deck, mostly because it just... People have 30 health, and Freeze Mage kills people from 30 health, which I don't think is very interactive. Freeze Mage always has been able to kill the control decks, except Warrior. They're able to kill the aggro decks most of the time, unless they're like super aggro. Zoo can kill them about, I think, less than 50% of the time. But mid-range is, I think, what actually kills Freeze Mage. But if Freeze Mage actually has a good hand, I don't think you can beat Freeze Mage. Like, they'll just, like, get the turn 9, they'll Alex Straza you, and then, they'll like Emperor Thorson before this, then they'll Alex Straza you, and you'll get, like, Fireball, Frostbolt, Icelands, and got, like, 20 damage. Right there! I think, actually, a deck that does counter Freeze Mage is Murloc Paladin, but that isn't gonna work very much anymore, because Old Mark Guy is not a thing. So I don't know, I hope Freeze Mage gets nerfed, is what I'm saying here. I think Freeze Mage is not a very good interactive deck. It just is not very good at all for the meta, I do not think. Though they are introducing secret counters, I think that may not be enough, but if you're able to get rid of his Ice Block and Ice Barrier, stop him from gaining 8 life and stop him from being immune, I don't know. Maybe he'll just place a second one and you still die, or maybe he doesn't even need it. I'm not sure. At the current state though, I think Freeze Mage needs to be a little bit nerfed. I'm not sure what you would nerf at that point. Maybe Alexstrasza is just a little bit overpowered. It doesn't look like it's being nerfed though. But maybe Freeze Mage need to be touched. So after that, I figured I should go back at what I just said and how I think the game should play out, with control decks actually being viable again, mid-range being viable in certain ways, and I'll go about how I should think they should be changed to be fit this thing. First off, burst damage is bad. That's all Freeze Mage is, by the way, is his burst damage. But Druid combo is 14 damage from no board. And not only that, is if you're playing a control deck and you want to go to fatigue, well, they'll just kill you from like 30 health. They'll just play Emperor Thors and they'll get one minion stick on the board at some point, like a Shade of Naxxramas, right? And you're dead. He'll hit you for like 35 damage by Force of Nature, Savage Roar. He doesn't even need Emperor Thors, and he just needs an Innervate, and then you're dead. I think that is obviously uninteractive and completely dumb, and that counters. It's like an aggro deck that is mid-range, and it can kill control decks with a combo. So basically, Secret Paladin and Druid meet all of these requirements. It's why they lose to nothing except themselves or a bad draw, or a good draw, a really, really good draw from their opponent. That's why I think they're broken. I think a deck archetype should only meet one of these requirements, and certain decks are meeting all 4 of them. I don't think Secret Paladin is getting a combo, which is why I think they're not as broken as Druid is right now. But Secret Paladin, well, it looks like they're getting nerfed anyways, just from the cards going away. But also the secret removal and stuff like that. But Druid needs something done with. I do not think decks should be narrow enough, such as Patron and possibly Combo Rogue, to where they die to 1 card. If, like Patron, you just Flame Strike them, they Flame Strike them again, they lose. Their only way to win after that is a Grommash with some sort of, hoping not the Grommash doesn't die. That's their only way to actually win the game, or hoping that you're at 14 or less life. That's their only way to win. Other than that, like, and I'm not even sure about Reno Jackson. Like, I just said that 1 card should not be able to counter them. But, like, Reno Jackson is a card. It's either that the aggro decks right now are very skewed to, like, try to kill them before you get to Reno Jackson, and they're not even focusing on anything like that, or Reno Jackson's broken. Like, that's freak. Because, like, if you have Reno Jackson in your opening hand against an aggro deck, you just keep it, like such as Hunter. I'm not thinking of like Druid or anything, because he still probably will lose. You just keep it against Hunter, and then you just keep it turn 6, and you're probably not going to be dead by then, because you're playing control deck if you have Reno, and you just remove one of his minions every turn, and even if the minions don't die, if you have Reno in your opening hand, you can take the damage. And then if by the time the Hunter uses all of these utensils to push for lethal, you're Reno Jackson, he's out of cards, you're at 30 health, and the Hunter concedes. I think that's a little bit broken, though I think what they're trying to do is make decks more attrition-based, which I think also is a good way to go. And if you don't know what that term means, it basically just means they always have a chance. If you play correctly, make the good trades, and are able to just keep something on the board, and push your way slowly gaining more advantage every turn, such as, think of Paladin with Justicar. You play Justicar, and you have a bad turn by playing Justicar. But the next turn you play 2 1/1s for 2 mana on top of another minion. And then you play 2 more 1/1s the next turn. And you'll win that way, just by playing more and more 1-drops at 1/1s that your opponent can't deal with. I think by adding that one snake thing, or like that one worm that hunters are getting, they're wanting the hunters to have some sort of late game attrition thing. I think that's what they're going for. But it's either that or Reno Jackson's broken. I think large minions should be a win condition. Currently they are not, because BGH is a thing, and silence is a thing. And Druid combo is a thing. Playing Ragnaros on turn 8 used to be just like you win the game, unless your opponent had removal. But even now, you just BGH it. Generally, every single deck's running a BGH, and if control decks are actually getting viable, which I don't see it happening currently because, you know, the value in the removing minions doesn't really happen very much anymore, then people will just run 2 BGHs and then you lose. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't even think control versus control is very interactive anymore. Such as, like, even back then, it used to be you get matched up with Control Warrior versus Control Warrior every now and then. And what happened is you just play a BGH, you hold the BGH in your hand until your opponent plays a big minion, then you BGH his, you play your big minion some other time, he BGHs you, and most of the time you just go into fatigue, and you hope that your big minion did 8 face damage when more than he did to you, and then you just win the game from, like, gaining 8 life from that, and it's really dumb. I don't know, I sort of like the fatigue deck type style from Control, but I think BGH needs a big nerf. And that large minion should be a win condition, such as Cthulhu that is coming out. So, I took some time to come up with some much needed nerfs in the game. There's actually not that many after I thought about it, but they do need some. BGH is obviously my biggest one. I don't care if anything else gets nerfed. BGH is number 1 on that list. BGH needs to get removed, or changed to like 5, 6, 7 mana, or maybe just change the effect altogether, deal like 4 or 5 damage to a big minion. Even that just seems really busted. A 3-drop 4/2 that deals 5 damage? A little bit busted. But I think BGH needs something done to it, and I think BGH has actually been confirmed nerfed, which makes me very happy inside. Force of Nature or Savage Roar needs to be changed a lot. I don't think it's actually, like, if they change Savage Roar, it will be unusable. And if you change Force of Nature, it will probably be unusable. Though which one's easier to change without changing the text of the card, or changing, like, too much, like the utility of it? I think Force of Nature is easier to do that, and Savage Roar itself is not busted without Force of Nature. So I think what you could do with Force of Nature is either make it target only minions and not be able to hit face, or just change it to something. I believe Force of Nature of the two have been confirmed nerfed. Not Savage Roar, because Savage Roar can be used by aggressive decks as an endgame push against control decks to try to beat them, instead of just being amazing at killing midrange. Because if you're able to kill control decks at least 20% of the time, you actually have a good chance of playing a good aggro deck. Ancient of Lore is busted. Ancient of Lore, that's another Druid card. And if you don't know why Ancient of Lore is busted, I will explain it here very shortly. First off, let's compare it to, Arcane Intellect. 3 mana spell, draw 2 cards. So let's just say you could put another card in place of Arcane Intellect. So you're already using up a card slot in your deck to draw 2 cards with 3 mana. And if Arcane Intellect was a different card, it would be like you just drew 1 card for free. Sort of. It's basically Arcane Intellect could be a different card instead of drawing 2 cards. So it's 3 mana, draw 1 card. In essence. Sort of, if you get that. Ancient of Lore is a minion in itself. It is a 5/5 threat, which is actually pretty big against, like, when you're playing as Druid, because you have to remove the 5/5 minion using your utility spells, which is why control decks also lose against them. Basically, you have to fireball this 5/5, or you need to, like, take a Death Spite to the 5/5, and he gets 2 card draws. And the 2 card draws are not, like, alternate cards that didn't do anything like Arcane Intellect. They are 2 additional cards on top of the card you played on the board. So that's like a 7 mana 5/5, Battle Cry, play 2 Arcane Intellects, in essence. And that's why this card is busted. It needs to be changed a lot. Maybe Battle Cry, draw 1 card. Because 2 mana, 2.5 mana, draw a card, sounds about right. Especially when you're getting a 5/5 minion with it. I think if you change it to draw 1 card, or maybe just change it to a different effect altogether, that would be nice. Another card that possibly could be nerfed is Knife Juggler. Though maybe in like a Zooey deck or aggro deck they need Knife Juggler. I'm not sure if this card should be nerfed, but I'd probably say yeah, it's much better than basically any other 2-drop in the game, and that's why it should be nerfed, but I don't know. It depends to them. Another card is Owl. Ironbeak Owl. I said that big minions basically just get silenced if you don't have a BGH in hand currently. And it's also not very fun. Like, how big minion should work is you play this minion that your opponent cannot deal with, and then you win the game off the back of the value of such a big minion. Control decks leak the value out of everything they can, and then they just silence it, and the value is all gone. There's no purpose. Like, you play like a giant minion that gets like so many buffs. Silence. You play Ragnaros. Oh, no, you don't silence Ragnaros. That would be dumb. You play Chromagus. It gets value every time you draw a card. It's silence. It doesn't. It's no longer. It's just 8 mana 6/8. Yeah, I mean, how are you gonna get value when you just keep getting silenced? And I think actually Ironbeak Owl is confirmed nerfed, which I'm happy for. And maybe Molten Giant. I think Molten Giant, with the lack of burst, Molten Giant would be pretty overpowered because it's a 0 mana 8/8 minion. Without the ability of your opponent being able to kill you the turn that they get you under 10 life or some such. So I think Molten Giant may be a little bit broken. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe if it was like 25 mana instead, or maybe if it was like 30 mana or 40 mana, and it kept recurring, like it doesn't go back up whenever you heal, it just kept going down for every point. I think that would be a little bit more balanced, because that means you would have to play a control deck with heal, instead of just playing like a combo deck, where you just play double Molten Giant, taunt them up, such as Handlock. So, yeah, I think that is generally what I wanted to say about this video. I think Blizzard is going in the right direction with this new expansion, the, the Old Gods stuff. I will be looking forward to hopefully seeing how this changes out in the good side of things. More attrition, more control, more balance. And actually a last addition. I used to watch a streamer called Trump in, last year. Well, last year too, actually. And the way he actually plays the game has been changed a lot. Because when he used to start off his stream, the first thing he did is he sat down, looked at his decks, and be like, what do you think I should play? And he would look at his results of what he played yesterday. He would be like, okay, so I played 20 warriors. I played 30 warlocks, and out of those warlocks, 27 of them were handlocks. So I'll play 2 BGHs to counter handlock. And I also played against a freeze mage. I played against 15 freeze mages. So I'll put in a Kazan Mystic. But nowadays it's just like, okay, let's play just Druid, or let's play Paladin. Let's play some other net decked thing that is shown to be somewhat decent. And I think that's where we've gone wrong. But if I missed anything, I want you to tell me. And if you think this is not how the game should be, and that I've mistaken something here, make sure to put it in the comments, and I'll be sure to read it. I have played this game quite a bit, and I feel like I know what I'm talking about, but maybe I haven't portrayed it correctly, or maybe I just am a complete idiot and I don't know anything about Hearthstone. I don't know. So thank you for watching this, and goodbye.